very honor for me and for us, because I'm representing officially Alfa Romeo brand Milan, and it's very good to stay here and to see this such beautiful car, because the 8C was a creation from Vittorio Jano, was one of the biggest man, the big technician of Alfa Romeo, and the whole most important Alfa Romeo drivers drove this kind of car. Nuvolari, just first name that I remember. These cars are quite perfect and are the base of the Alfa Romeo legend, and I don't mind if an Alfa Romeo owner owns an 8C or an Alfa Sud. The passion is the same. Yes, but I have to admit, now we are in the Olympus of Alfa Romeo.
They do say that to be a real motor enthusiast, you need to have owned an Alfa Romeo, which is a great credit to the factory.
But yes, with my work, I am in contact with all the Alfa Romeo people all over the world. For example, with my work, I answer every year to more than 4,000 requests, for example, that came in Centro Documentazione in Arese. And we know the most important owner of 8C, but as well we know the guy who is own the only Alfa Sud running in Sri Lanka, for example. So I repeat, no matter which Alfa, but is the passion is an universal language. Don't mind the nation, don't mind the language you speak, but when we meet, we speak absolutely the same language.
We're here at the Hurlingham Club with Simon Moore, obviously with a modern 8C Alfa Romeo, but there's a whole bloodline behind us. I've never seen so many 8Cs in one room. Please tell us about both the modern car, but more importantly, the classics that you've bought today or organised today.
Okay. Well, the modern is something that you can buy. They were limited production. There's a coupe outside, and this white one has been brought along by one of the Alfa agents here in the UK to promote sales. But they are indeed, you know, the end of the bloodline, although they've now got the 4C that they've been introducing at Geneva, which looks
yes,
good.
We saw that at Geneva. Now the important stuff.
Yeah, okay. Right.
So
this is a late model one, 1934, towards the end, third series car, long chassis, so you actually got some space behind the driver for a couple of passengers, but still quite a seriously quick car. This was just not a race car, just a car for people to.
This would be a road touring vehicle, basically. Yes.
Yeah, but a 100-mile-an-hour motor car in 1934 is still quite a quick car.
And the body on this?
It's by a company called Brianza. Zagato actually went broke in 1932, and the premises was taken over almost immediately in typical, you know, go out of business one day, start again the next day. And they called themselves Brianza because they were in the Viale Brianza in Milano.
And you've got a full screen and the two fly screens as well. So
each one goes down, yeah.
Depending how you want to travel.
If you've got two people, you might put the screen down. If you've got four, you certainly leave it up.
Excellent.
Okay. Now we're into the pure races.
Obviously, being able to read, it's a Don Lee special.
Well, yeah, it went to the States. It was first owned by a man called Jose de Villapidiana after Scuderia Ferrari raced it. And he actually was quite interesting. He was arrested for stealing his aunt's jewels to sell to support his racing program, where he had a Maserati single-seater as well. Then this went to the States before the war and ran at Indianapolis, both before the war and after the war. And after the war, it was owned by a guy called Tommy Lee, who was the principal of Don Lee Broadcasting. Mm-hmm. Don Lee Broadcasting are the first people to put TV pictures out in Los Angeles. And the real old-timers, the hill where it says Hollywood, they still call it Mount Lee, because that's where the transmitter was.
And Hollywood land. Again, so single-seater. Exposed, no wheel arches, just a racing machine.
Pure racing.
I have to say I'm biased with this one. This is one of my personal favourites, being a Zagato body, Scuderia Ferrari. Alfa Romeo 8C. To me, it's what the 8C is about.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was a Scuderia Ferrari car in 1932. At the time when these were the first cars, the 1932 Zagatos were the first cars to have the Scuderia Ferrari Cavallino Rampante on the bonnet. Very short chassis, very successful in sports car racing in Italy and elsewhere. Really, great cars. And I personally agree with you. I prefer Zagato, but other people prefer touring, and we've got some touring cars to look at later.
Well, again, modern registered, still got its number plate on the front. It just says Italy and Alfa and their racing exploits.
And it came on the road up from Sussex today, but it did boil in Putney, so it arrived with a bit of steam coming out the bottom.
And no one likes London traffic. This looks very similar to the previous car, but obviously I'm a layman. There are obviously differences.
This is actually one of the single-seater P3s, like the car 2 Up that ran at Indianapolis. This car was raced a lot in the UK and in Europe by a man called Charlie Martin after Scuderia Ferrari had the car. He then went and spent a long time in Australia, and now it has recently been fitted with a 2-seater body, so it can be used on the road. But it's really a single-seater. This centre section can be taken off and the single-seater section put back in.
And when we say 2-seater, it's really
Well,
a 1.5.
It certainly wouldn't be me, but the guy who owns it is a guy called Paul Griston. His wife is extremely slender, and I think she can probably just about slip into the passenger seat.
Well,
but you see, it's a race car. It's still got an outside exhaust pipe. Yeah, it's a race car that they've modified so it can run on the road.
Well, as you say, it's another beautiful example of the 8C.
Yeah.
See, a severe change in colour scheme now, going to the blue colours.
This car was sold new to a Swedish guy, and he raced it in the Swedish colours, which were blue and yellow like this. This is the first Monza we've seen, which were like 2-seater races. They raced these with the wings and lights removed in Grand Prix events. They won Monaco in 1932, for example. But then once the single-seater P3s came in, they raced them a lot with wings and lights like this in sports car events. And of course they're lighter than the classic Zagato, so they did extremely well, winning the Mille Miglia in this form and that sort of thing.
And would that be something that you would change backwards and forwards depending on the race that you entered? Or would
Absolutely. The wings just come away with a few bolts, and the lights come away, and off you go.
Excellent. So
And the spare wheel come off. A multi-purpose, absolutely. Private owners love them because they could do, they could enter a hill climb. You could do the race car class, and you could bolt the wings back on, and then run the sports car class.
Perfect for the gentleman racer.
Absolutely.
The number 38 car.
Not really much more to say. I mean, this is like the previous one, only this is another. It's painted red rather than blue, but again, it's a Monza. It spent some life in Brazil. Somewhere along the line, it got Maserati-type filler caps on front and back, which identifies the car fairly quickly. But another very nice original Monza Alpha from sort of 32, 33 period, same as the one over there.
The thing that strikes me immediately with this is the aero styling on the rear and the straps and everything else.
Very typical touring. That the straps hold down the boot lid, which is sort of split on either side, and the fin was very much a feature of a company called Carrozzeria Touring, who introduced this in 1932 and built a lot of cars mostly with this fin, and it's quite a distinguishing feature. It sort of fits over the spare wheels at the back.
And that would be the same Touring that was Touring Superleggera.
It is Touring Superleggera. There's a little touring badge down on there.
Yes. So again,
Touring Superleggera,
which has a huge history.
Absolutely.
Till today, even.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Another short chassis. Okay, so now we're back onto long chassis again. Road car for people just to enjoy fast road motoring, as you would buy, a 430 Ferrari or a Super America today. A very quick car, just for ordinary touring use on the road.
And again, this whole area can be covered over, and you've got the hood which just folds up.
This one's got a very nice hood, and you get two more people in the back quite easily. A lot more space, a lot more comfortable for somebody my height. That's for sure.
Certainly this whole cabin area looks very comfortable compared to some of the racing cars.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Back into the red with again two separate seats in this one.
Yeah, this is built up from parts, this car,
Right.
and it's to look like some of the early cars they raced in 1931 with an outside exhaust pipe, no tail, and two seats as they raced in the Targa Florio in 1931. But it is a car made up from parts by one of the restorers, Neil Twyman, and it's great to see a car, that we don't have an original one of that's been built up in this way. So that's
If
great.
it's done in the right way, it's a tribute to the engineering that was.
Absolutely.
Fantastic to see it, and praise to the effort put
Absolutely. Absolutely.
in. So this car now, again, the two split seats, very similar to the cars we saw earlier.
Yeah. But these ones had that one over there, the blue one, for example, had what we call cycle wings, just a small wing over the wheel, whereas this one has rather elegant, longer wings that sort of merge into each other. And it just looks more like a sports car than a race car with wings, as it were.
But you do have a separate rear fender,
Yes.
as well as the front fender and running board combo.
Yeah.
But again, it's a exercise in streamlining. Who would have done the bodywork for this?
Brianza would have built these as
Brianza
well,
again.
although this one actually is new bodywork.
This looks rather sumptuous actually inside, but again I notice it's got the aero styling on the rear. So again we're seeing hybrids of all the styling in all the different cars.
Yeah.
But yeah, very sumptuous inside.
Yeah, this is belongs to Alain de Cadenet, and he's had it for a very, very long time, and he uses it a lot on the road. I went actually, I was telling you, I went to a funeral, a car dealer called Danny Margulis, and I was walking from the tube, and Alan comes by and says, "Hop in," and they gave me a ride to the funeral. So he does use it all the time on the road. It's been in the UK for a very long time. It was owned during the war by a man called Tony Stamer. Been in the UK since the late 30s. And Alan uses it a lot. You see this around the roads in London. Again, touring like the one we saw over there, but an earlier one. This car actually ran the 1932 Mille Miglia. It's a very early chassis number, 1931 chassis number. So it's here partly because Alan's part organizer of the event, but also because it's the only 1931 car that we have here, and we're celebrating 80 years. So it's we should put this in between all the tables because it's the 1931 car.
But again, I'm sure Alan loves it to death, and
He does.
It looks fantastic.
Okay,
Thank you very much for your time.
pleasure. No problem at all.